Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. So it looks like we have, a small little group, but as they come, they could join. Hi, thank you. Okay, so I'll start. So we're having the new moon in Gemini, and the affirmation for the new moon in Gemini should be I speak truthfully and lovingly. And I'll explain why I chose this affirmation for the new moon. The new moon in Gemini is a logical moon. And this time around, the moon is actually going to be with the sun, obviously, because we need the sun in order for us to form a new moon. And also joining Venus and Mercury. So they're going to be on the same sign. So that's where the lovingly part comes from. So we could embrace Mercury and Venus and their energy in that sign. And obviously Venus is the goddess of beauty. So lovingly would fit her, and speak, that is Mercury. Mercury is our speech, our intelligence. So waving all that. I'm sorry, waving. I said waving when I was going to click on waving to this person. Hi. Putting all that together, then it's this affirmation. Now, the moon, I put keywords here. So the moon in Gemini specifically emphasizes the communication, how we communicate, like our emotions, networking and socializing, our mental stimulation, reading and learning, and of course, breathing. Hi, thank you for joining me. So Gemini and Mercury, they're the rulers of the lungs. And this energy is great to either start a meditation practice or even take just deep breaths, so we could calm our nervousness down. Because too many planets in Gemini, it's a very logical sign and very intelligent as well, fast, quick. But it also can give us stress and anxiety if we have too much stimulation. So breathing and meditating can calm people down if they have any of those nervous tendencies because of all the Gemini energy happening. Now here is a list of things that Gemini governs. So that means they rule communication, books, our siblings, social media, our neighbors, our neighborhoods, cars. They're ruled by Gemini. Gemini is a sign of duality. So the ears, the hands, anything that's two sides of the brain. So not the whole brain, the side, the right, the left on the side by the ear. And hands, lungs, and it's an air sign. So it's a logical and intelligent sign. Now, this is the Gemini new moon chart. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with natal charts. Can I see if anyone is familiar with natal charts in the chat? Not familiar. Okay. So this is a chart that I, as an astrologer, I draft. Awesome. Yes. I will. Thank you. Okay. A bit, and then some not familiar. Great. So this is a chart that I would draft, and you draft it either for an event or you draft it for a person. So all these colors that you see around the wheel, they all represent the sign, a different sign. So we are all the signs within. However, our sun sign determines what we're mostly identifying with. So if someone was born during this month or the next month, then they would say that they have a Gemini sun, right? That's what people know the most. Now, this chart, as you can see, there's a lot of points and activity going on. Those are the rest of the planets, and those are all part of our personality. So it's all the chart itself that break down our personality and also the circumstances that we're destined to experience, and how we can evolve as well. So our free will. So with this chart, when there's a new moon, we cast it exactly when the moon and the sun are together to the same degree. And this chart has a lot of twos going on. So it's happening May 22nd, 2020. And the moon is joining the sun at 2nd degree Gemini, another duality. So it's a 2 energy. And then another group later down the line is Venus and Mercury joining at 20 degrees. So a lot of energy, and it's happening in the 11th house. So I casted this chart for the Los Angeles area. If you live somewhere else, then you would have to change the location and time zone because it's going to affect the energy there differently. So it's not going to fall in the same house. So here in this area, what we have is matters of community. So a lot of matters of community, new beginnings, new things going on. And I mean, this could emphasize maybe the reopening. There's issues to be worked out because Neptune is squaring Mercury, and Mercury is the ruler of neighborhoods. So there's still some kind of concern, some issues going on. Neptune also rules diseases. So, and amongst other things, spirituality and things like that. So there might be some things that need to be worked out before we open up completely, but it's happening, and it's going to happen after Mercury leaves the sign of Gemini, which would be sometime mid-month next month. But now what we have to do is work on something to manifest something that we want to achieve within the next few months, because the energy here is very logical. So if there was anything that you wanted to achieve, like a short course or maybe complete a course, this is a time to start planning any type of trips. Also maybe learn a new language, things that are going to better your skills, because Mercury is the sign of skills, the sign of socializing, the sign of networking. So it's being emphasized with all this new energy, and the moon and the sun are new beginnings. Thank you. This is giving me goosebumps, said Rachel. Yeah, so the moon and the sun are new beginnings. So whatever we set intentions to manifest now, we're going to see the completion of it in 6 months. So the reason 6 months is when there's a full moon in the sign of Gemini. And that happens when the sun's in Sagittarius and the moon is opposite to the sun in the sign of Gemini. That's when whatever we set intentions now, we manifest in 6 months. So we do have a helping hand here. Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius, and Saturn is like, he's father time. So it's our responsibility. It's also hard work. It's a karmic planet in our chart. So he is retrograde, so it's internalizing. So the matters are that we have to take control and responsibility over something that we either left unfinished, something that we want to complete, or something we want to attain and we haven't set energy towards attaining, because Saturn there is helping us out. So if we decide to do something that is going to improve our gains, because the 11th house is a house of gains, then this is a time to do it. So you need to start planning, executing, and moving towards working and completing those goals. Let's see what other stressful aspects we have here. So Mars is in Pisces, and Mars does okay in the sign of Pisces. However, Mars in the sign of Pisces gets a little bit frustrated. So how we can use the energy is focusing on higher level things, or higher level thinking, meditating or praying, whatever it is that you're into, that kind of disconnects the body from the spirit from the body, because Mars can get a little bit intense with wanting to have a lot of movement, moving around, and a lot of activities. So it's squaring our logic right now, or so the way that we're thinking. So we're getting a little bit antsy with all this Gemini energy, and then here comes Mars kind of pushing us to move and wiggle around, and we have a lot of internal energy. So another way to express this is by doing like a logical project, which which would be putting your energy in completing something, like I mentioned, learning a language, anything that has to do with Gemini activities. So that's why I listed the things that Gemini governs. So you can think of something in that area that you want to manifest. It could be simple as reading a few books so you could learn new things, or just like get stuck into fantasy life, or maybe bonding again with a sibling or a friend that you consider a family that you're not talking as much. Anything that has to do with that socializing and communicating piece, and also that you love because Venus is there. So overall, I don't see anything really concerning with this energy. It's just going to cause us a lot of nervousness, which again, people that are into like crystals and astrology, we know about this. We know about this nervousness, and this is kind of why we seek other avenues to calm ourselves down and connect to higher energy and the divine. So I don't think this would be something challenging for you guys. So these are some of the ideas. I listed them out on things that you're able to focus on that are Gemini. Obviously, you can choose whatever you want, but the more you are in tune with the energy, the better the outcome. Because there's always a time and a place to focus on a certain energy. And right now, since we're focusing on Gemini, then Gemini things will be the best. Do you guys have any like questions? Anything you guys want to, before I go to the grid? Because I'm going to do the crystal grid right now. Okay, Rachel said that was insane. So I'm hoping that it resonated with you. Now, what are the, since we don't have that many people, I've never heard anything like that. I totally related to every bit. Oh, awesome. Awesome. What signs do we have here? So, Rachel, what is your zodiac sign? Yes, anxiety is totally normal right now. There's a lot of mental energy. There's a lot of mental stimulation, and there's not a lot of movement out. So we are Pisces. Oh, okay. So we need movement so we can regulate that. And because we have so much mental energy and we're not really able to freely go outside, and it's not necessarily just to like walk or work out, then we're bottling everything in. So we're getting a lot of anxiety. We're getting a lot of I can say it could even be borderline depression. So we just need to be careful, because if we start feeling all this tense energy, we need to let it out somehow. And that's how we can let it out, by doing some Gemini activities. And actually, I forgot to mention, so Gemini does rule our neighborhoods, and walking would be a good way to release this outlet of the tension that Mars is giving us. So maybe walking around. I know that we can't really go out as much, but if we take safety precautions, then we could kind of walk around and take some, some stress out that way, versus bottling it in and feeling all this anxious energy and anxiety. Yay! Yeah, Rachel, I love that too, because I've been walking around myself. I mean, I have a lot of mental energy, and literally I need to breathe and get some space. So I've been going out at night when there's not a lot of people out, and, feeling better, much better. So, okay, goodness, my anxiety has been through the roof again. I haven't slept the whole week. Yes. Okay. So if your anxiety is, it's breathing. Yeah. Slept. Okay. Yeah. You need to breathe. And obviously, I know that it's not you. It's just the circumstances. But you're probably really feeling the Gemini energy. And let me go to the next slide, because I think I listed the houses. There you go. So depending on your rising sign, So here, if you're in Aries, then Gemini rules the third house cusp. This is using whole sign. So for people that aren't familiar with the birth chart and things like that, don't worry about it. Later on, as you learn more astrology, you'll get more familiar. But I use whole sign just for the ease of the chart. But I tend to use Placidus for my predictions. But whole sign is easier when you're doing like a global instruction and explanation. So Aries rules the third house cusp. In a ascendant in Aries, the third house cusp is ruled by Gemini. So that's our communication, siblings, short travel, education, neighbors. So maybe some of your anxiety is coming from obligations that you have to do with education, and maybe you're putting too much on your plate. That could be another thing. So just remember to relax. Now, if you're a Taurus, this energy is going to be felt in your second house. Your second house represents money, spending habits, your personal assets, your self-esteem, your self-worth, and the food that you eat. Let's see, for Gemini, then it's your first house. And if you're a Gemini, then you're going to feel this in your physical body, in your appearance. So something about yourself, your persona, your character, you're going to start feeling the energy. So for Geminis, this energy is going to be very intense because the new moon is happening there, and there's a lot of planets there, a lot of activity, and all these planets rule another house in your chart. So you're gonna feel a lot of the anxiety. If you do, just make sure you have an outlet. If you don't, then yay, you can enjoy all this mental stimulation, all these ideas that are coming to you. If you are a Cancer, then this energy will be felt in your 12th house cusp, and this is the hidden house. This is a house of spirituality, our genetic lineages, faraway places. It's also the mental health house and bed pleasures. So a good place to release some of the anxiety for Cancers is if you have an intimate partner, then there you go. Kind of release some of the tension with getting intimate and loving with your partner. Now for Leo, this is happening in your 11th house cusp, and this is a house of networking, society, dreams, goals, or monetary gains after a career. It's also the house of large networks and networking. Oh, I mentioned that. So anything, focusing on anything that is going to bring you or give you access to a dream, a long-term dream that you have or had, would be great. So anything that has to do with making money or making a dream come true. So this is an easy house for Leo to have this energy. And for Libra, this is happening in, I skipped Virgo. Let me go back. For Virgo, this is happening in the 10th house, and the 10th house is a house of career. Status is also the house of one of the parents. I really believe it's the house of the mother, but it all depends on the individual's house, the house of status. So the energy there is going to be around career and also maybe global responsibilities that you have in the household, things like that. So that's also, I think, an easier energy if we're looking at career and gains in career. Now, Libra, this is happening in the 9th house, which the 9th house is our spiritual beliefs, our higher education, foreign lands, long-term travel, also foreign languages, our philosophies. So this is just a Libra is probably going to have a lot of mental energy too, because Gemini is sending like a trine aspect. This is a good aspect, so good energy towards your first house, the house of self. And you're going to have a lot of mental stimulation because it is an air sign. So maybe you're going to have ideas that you could jot down for the future, or learn a different language, anything that has to do with improving your skills. For Scorpio, the 8th house is your Gemini house, and mutual resources. So this is mutual money, taxes, loans, credit cards, and your intimate, like, sexual relations that you have with people, or lovers. This is the area that you're gonna feel it the most. So release some tension there. Let's see. I'm going to move the comments down. So for Sagittarius, it's the 7th house cusp, and this is a cusp of partnership. This is also the cusp of legal affairs, your spouse, if it's your first marriage, close friendships and business partnerships, even like best friends, they can fall into this house. So matters around this new moon are going to be mingled with people. So people that you partner with, people that you consider close friends. So this is a energy of duality, energy of using you and a person to partner with. So focus on manifesting something in that area. And for Capricorn, I'm sorry, I'm clicking on the comments. There we go. I was trying to wave. And for Capricorn, this energy is falling on the 6th house cusp, daily routines, our employees, like if you have a business, it's going to be your employees, your health, your pets. This is also the house of debt and enemies. So matters around that are going to be activated. So what I would work on, if you don't want to attract anything that's not wanted, like enemies or debt, then start walking around the neighborhood and using Mercury's energy and Mars's energy to, like, for better use versus attracting things that you don't want to attract. So maybe burning off that steam, walking around, or speed walking, maybe running or jogging. So that was Capricorn. And for Aquarius, this is going to be the 5th house cusp. And that is the house of romance, creativity, also self-employment. These are people that can start their own business if they have a desire to, because it's being activated there. So it wouldn't be a time that you would launch a business. It will be a time that you're planning to launch a business. This is a house of love, fun, and children. So anything that involves romance, creating something, feeling more loving, doing more fun things, and your children. And the last but not least, Pisces. So it's falling in your 4th house cusp, and this is the house of home. It's also your ancestors, so your deep-rooted emotions. It's your karma. So maybe working around the house, maybe remodeling, moving things around, using that energy. So you can see some of the houses are more intense than others, and how you can see how it's going to kind of affect you, or how you're going to see it play out in your personal chart, is by seeing where Gemini is located, and the house that Gemini rules, matters around that are going to be emphasized. Okay, so let me go to my grid. Has anyone in the live ever done a crystal grid? Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Okay, cool. So Rachel says she's heard of them, never done one yet. Well, the crystal grids, no, but it sounds interesting, said Sweet Tiffany. Okay, cool. And Raina said, not me. Okay. Cool. So this is a practice that you can use. Angie said, no, but I just recently bought crystals. Woohoo! Yay! So you could put your crystals to good use. So with this specific grid that I'm going to make or show you guys how to do, I used specific crystals, but you don't have to. You can use whatever crystals you have. You can use whatever you want to add. It doesn't matter because it's all in the intention. But I am going to show you the basics so like that you could make your own grid. And I use the grid to manifest something. So I usually journal, and then from there I set up the energy of the crystals in a pattern using sacred geometry, and then I set my intentions in that. And it's a very spiritual way of doing it. It's, you know, whoever enjoys this, I think they're really gonna love it. So let me show you guys. So we're gonna use this pattern, and it's called the Seed of Life. So if you can see in the middle of the pattern, there's a little flower. And I chose this pattern for this new moon because Venus is conjunct Mercury. So we have to honor Venus's beauty so we can activate that and attract things to our lives, because Venus, after all, is a planet of beauty and also the planet of money and a lot of good things. So kind of honoring her is awesome. So we can bring that into our lives. And if you don't have this chart, I made a quick little PDF and I have it on my website. So if you go on my website and you type in your email, it'll email it to you right away. So you can have it, you can print it out and use it. It has a little instruction sheet that I made in the back. So these are the stones that I'm using. I have my affirmation there. And it kind of explains what the stone is for. I color coded, like there's a little purple dot, so it could match the dot here, so you know where to place the stone. Okay, so that's the sheet. You guys can get it. Now, if you have your own grid, then awesome. You don't have to go get that. But if you don't, then you can go ahead and grab that from my website. Okay, so here is my printed grid, and I have all my items here ready to go. So I have my sage, I have my stone, the stones that I'm going to use, and I got some flowers just to kind of add a little spunk and prettiness to it. Before I started, I already cleaned my stones. So you can use Palo Santo, you can use sage, or some people like to actually clean their stones with a bowl. So you can do that as well. This is the sound bowl, so you can do that as well. You can put the crystals inside and actually have them feel the vibration of the bowl as well. But once the crystals are too big, the bowl doesn't really vibrate. You need a bigger one. So when we're setting up our grid, we want to make sure everything is cleansed. And I already cleansed it because I need 2 hands to do that, and I did not want to do that on the live. We're going to start by, first we program the stone. We're going to hold it in our palm, and we're going to send love and intention to it. So whatever it is you want to manifest. So an example, I'm just going to do this. I want to have a better connection with my sister. I want to be able to relate to her more and talk to her more like we were children. I'm just giving an example. So it could be, simple to follow. So I am holding the stone, setting that intention. And then you can bring it up to your third eye if you wish, or you can bring it up to your heart, whatever feels better. Or you could just simply hold it with your hand. You set the intention and then we set it down. That activates the grid. So once the grid is activated, then from there, we're going to get other stones. And you do the same thing to all the stones. Again, with the intention, you can say it out loud or say it quickly. So I'm placing down now the hematite. And hematite is good for this grid because it's grounding. Since we have a lot of anxious, nervous energy, then us being grounded is great. Like, it's a great stone to use. Now, I did put in my worksheet that you can use 6, but actually, if you feel like using less, that's fine. And for this, I feel like using 3, so I'm just using 3. I'm not going to put more stones. I'm just using 3 hematite. I don't want to ground too much, but I want to ground enough. The next stone is the Amplifier Stone, which is the clear quartz. And with the clear quartz, when you're setting the stones, if you noticed, I did it in a clockwise position. So I'm going to set them down on the white circles, but I like to set them down like this. This is just my preference, like swooping it out, because that means we're swooping the energy out, right? We're amplifying it. So I like to go like this and lay it down. You can do as you wish, but that's just like, that's my preference. So as I'm setting up my grid, I'm going in a clockwise rotation, and I'm saying my affirmation over and over, whatever I want to manifest. And there is your grid. So very simple, very quick, not like too time and cumbersome. And I have little flowers, and you could, again, if you want to set flowers on your grid, you can do them as you wish, whatever flowers you want to set. But make sure whatever you do, you're setting them in a clockwise position or rotation. Why? Because that's the flow of energy. If we go back this way, we want to release. If we go this way, we want to receive. So right energy going towards the right is the masculine, and the masculine energy receives, the feminine energy releases. So we want to do it that way. So I'm setting on my little flowers just so I could complete the unison of the grid. And there we go. So now we have the crystal set up. The grid is set up, and you could light a little candle if you wish. I have a little affirmation here that I made, and you can change this affirmation as you wish. But with the intention that I set, I programmed this grid to bring better communication with my sister, my siblings, and this is so for the highest good. So I set my intention, and from there I could set this up in my altar, right? So I could have been doing this in my altar or anywhere you want to kind of see it. You're going to remove this after the full moon. So in 2 weeks, you remove it. And when you remove it, you're going to get sage again. You're going to thank the energy, and then you remove the stones. So like that, you deactivate the grid. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, yes. This is not the Metatron cube. But next time I can do one with him when it's suited. I'm sorry. I didn't see the one that you wrote about sage. I'll scroll down to catch that. Let me see. I never keep sage lit for more than 4 seconds. Any tips? Okay. So let me go back to that. So I'll answer EC. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Yeah, I can do another grid later with him, but this is the Seed of Life grid. So there's so many grids, and the grid that you mentioned, that's one of them, and I love that grid too. That's actually for protection and power, and it's an amplifier, so it's a good grid. Okay, so back to Rachel. Sage, what I do is I turn it on with, I start with matches. Like the wood matches that could hold it with a long stick that could hold. Let me go back I'm sorry. So you can see my face. So I start with wood matches. I have some here. So if you can see, they're long. So I start with these. Now, if the sage is not lighting up, it might not be dry enough. So another tip is I would leave it maybe at a windowsill where the sun can get to it and dry it a little more, because when it's moist, it doesn't catch flame as easy. So that could be another issue. It could be too fresh, and that's why it's not catching. I know they say not to use the stove or use like a lighter, but I mean, really, if you really want to turn that on and it's not happening, then that would be the other alternative. I think, I mean, I've done it and I don't see anything different. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I love it. Okay, I'm afraid of asking questions. I'm afraid of people judging me. LOL, but I'm curious, does something happen if you ground too much? It all depends on your personal energy. Some people are more grounded. People that are grounded have a lot of logical energy in their chart already, like a lot of Virgo, a lot of earth energy. So if you ground too much, then you might feel a heaviness, maybe laziness, maybe you don't want to do certain things because you're too grounded. I think we see more trouble when there's an imbalance of the elements. So grounding too much also makes us lazy because we need fire, which is movement. Fire is creativity. Fire is originality. It's the starter, right? Fire heats up our food. So if we have too much earth, then we don't really want to do anything. We're comforted with what we're doing. Like we're comforted in that same energy. So that's the only thing that I can see that can affect you is if you have a lot of goals that you want to accomplish, but you have too much earth, you can be complacent or you can do things very slowly. So it doesn't mean it's going to prevent you from doing things, but it's going to take time because you have to do things practical. And earth signs like security. So grounding too much secures you in place, which can kind of affect, the individual if they don't have it. Now, I'm a person that doesn't have air. I don't have any air in my chart. I have all the other elements balanced. So I have 3 planets in fire, 3 planets in earth, and 3 planets in water. So I need air, right? And how I compensate for air is I talk, I socialize, and that's how I'm compensating. I also do a lot of things that give me air, like walking around the neighborhood, breathing techniques, things like that, because I need air. So I lack air. So doing a lot of air activities is not going to hurt me. It actually helps me. So that question is not dumb. There is no dumb questions and there's no judgment. It's a good question. I don't think anything will happen if you ground too much. Is there any other questions? Oh, hi, Rosa. Okay, cool. So it looks like there's no other questions. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this. It was quick, but I did want to set intentions for everyone that joined me, and I hope that you guys are able to use this. I know Kathy here, she sells a lot of these pretty stones, so most of you probably are stone collectors already. So you can use whatever stone you wish to use and then just get creative with it, and connect. Thank you so much, everyone. I really wish you guys the best for this new moon, and that anything you guys, I love stones too, wish to manifest, that it comes true. Thank you. Bye.